Hello, everyone. It's time. After finding the roots of our confidence issues in part one and also becoming more self aware in part two, we've now reached the moment we've all been waiting for. Part three, the final part of the confidence series. We're finally going to begin talking about taking action. It's time to become your true confident self. Are y'all ready? Before we get into the video, I did want to mention I saw a couple comments about my audio quality being kind of low. I won't lie, I was kind of rigging it before. I was just using my mic on a cup. It wasn't really ideal. I got a new mic. So if the audio sounds good now, let me know, or if it still needs to be turned up a little bit. On my end, I think it sounds pretty good, but I'd always love to hear feedback from y'all. Don't troll me though. Don't do me like that. But all right, so let's talk about again myself. I always like to relate myself when it comes to these things, not to be egotistical, but just for y'all to be able to relate to. When it comes to confidence in action, I had been preparing myself to be much more confident for a long time. As I mentioned in the last chapter, I did try to take action early on. It did not go well. It almost made me want to accept the fact that I just wasn't a confident person, and that's just the way it was. Luckily, I quickly realized that was a pathetic way of thinking, and I would rather humiliate myself by trying to be confident, trying to take the action instead of just accepting defeat and accepting a life of fear and being restricted by doubt. I just needed a right way to make progress without overdoing it or overstressing myself out. So, I worked on my self awareness and my emotional regulation, and then I crafted my own plan of action. And personally, mine was for social anxiety. That was really my biggest problem in life. I had the ideas in my mind. I knew exactly what I was talking about, but I would get into situations and I would get nervous, quiet, kind of shaky, and I just couldn't shine. I couldn't be my true self. And luckily, I came up with this plan. I did all the right things. It was all great, but I needed to eventually act on that plan if I ever wanted to see real results, which is thankfully exactly what I did. The results were incredible, and now I live a much more confident life. I still struggle with some things, like it's not going to just go away instantly. I'm only 24. I got a lot of work, a lot of unlearning to do, but now I'll still feel the fear and do it anyways, which is actually a book that I'm reading. And there's a really good rule about that the author talks. I forget her name. Great writer, though. Anyway, she just mentions the fact that fear is something that everyone feels, or at least feeling uncomfortable. And some people choose to act on it, and some people choose to be limited by it. And I just thought that was a really good point because sometimes we might be in our own internal worlds thinking, like, oh, I'm so afraid. But the truth is, everyone's afraid or uncomfortable about certain things. Other people just choose to take action on it. And that's what we want to start doing today. You can achieve that same exact thing, especially now that you've found the root of your issues and you've crafted your action plan, or at least you have a rough draft. If not, we're going to talk about it a little bit more today. And also in today's video, I'm going to be describing what exactly I mean by taking action, why it's so effective, and how you can start doing it the right way today. So let's get right into it. What do I mean by taking action? By taking action, I literally mean putting yourself in the situations that make you feel unconfident. Now, there's a right way to do this, and there's a wrong way. The first wrong way is doing what I first did. I knew I was way too nervous to conquer my fear. I literally just thinking about it, I'd get kind of shaky and anxious, right? I still tried, and it went really bad, and it kind of destroyed my motivation and confidence more than it helped. Another wrong way of doing this is just practicing on its own. So if you're just watching these videos, if you're just reading about it and never taking action, you're just theory crafting, right? You're never actually getting out there and doing it and giving yourself new experiences to grow and expand from. So another example would be like, let's say someone's unconfident singing in front of other people. If they only practice singing by themselves, that's great, but that's never going to conquer the problem. While they are taking some action, they did make the right first steps. They're never going to be able to apply it to singing in front of others until they actually do that. The fear is going to remain until it is conquered. Now, the right way to do this, the right way to take action, is we want to create a plan of action that starts where you are right now, and then it's going to progressively keep getting harder, and the level of difficulty is going to increase as the situations become harder. And the ideal outcome from that is that the further you get through the plan, the further your confidence grows, and the situations get bigger and bigger, and concurrently your life expands and gets bigger along with it as well. So, why is it vital to take action? In the first article, I mentioned the amygdala and the fear response, fight, flight, or freeze. So if you're still doing any of those things, you're being controlled by fear. And that would also include inaction under the category of freeze. You're not doing anything, so you're technically frozen. Your fear or your lack of confidence isn't going to be conquered until you take action. According to the National Institute of Health, one such idea is that our action experiences change how we think about the objects we encounter by interconnecting our representations of these objects with the sensory motor experiences associated with acting on the objects. These interconnections then play a role in thinking, even when there's no intent to act. So whenever you go to do something, you're thinking about doing that thing. And additionally, you're subconsciously or even consciously creating an image of how that action or however what it is going to happen, right? If you're unconfident, you're probably imagining the moment going wrong, most likely subconsciously without even thinking about it. So like a quick example would be like if you're going to take a shot in basketball, no Kobe, but if you're going to take the shot in basketball and you mess it up, or in your head you might imagine missing it, that's probably going to happen. And that might just be an unconscious thought because maybe in the past you were bad at basketball and you just have experiences that fortify that thought in your mind. But luckily for you, since you've cultivated mindfulness, it's not an unconscious thought anymore. You might still imagine it going badly at first, but now you're actually able to catch yourself with those thoughts and just stop that thought process completely. Then you can learn from this action that you can do it as you start to shoot and make the shots, and then you can replace that thought of, oh shit, I'm gonna miss the thought or miss the shot with I'm going to make it, and your brain's going to start to change that automatic thing with time, and maybe eventually you won't actually have to like manually do it. It's just going to be like, oh yeah, I have the experiences, I know I can do this. That's the first thought I'm going to have. Whereas before you were imagining the worst case scenario, now you taught yourself those things weren't reality. They're probably just remnants of an old trauma. Now we've replaced the old negative experiences with good or at least neutral experiences, and your overthinking can finally rest and you can just be at peace in the moment. So now let's talk about how to take action the right way. The following is my suggestions for beginning your plan of action. These are exactly what I did. It's what worked pretty good for me. So let's talk about it. First, follow your plan of action. That's it. It's really that easy. Hopefully you created a good one once you read part 2. Just remember, a good plan consists of breaking down the thing you're unconfident about, breaking it down into small, manageable parts, and then slowly conquering each level. Your confidence is going to grow with each level progressed until your lack of confidence is beaten. It's kind of like a video game, right? If you're playing a video game, say you're like, I don't know, like an MMO or something, you're not going to go to like the highest level place and try and take that stuff down because it's just going to wreck you. Or even if it was like basketball, you know, you're not going to go play in the NBA. You're going to play with some youth league or whatever. You're going to play in the street and, you know, progressively get better. Places where you can actually thrive. Now, I guess for me, a plan of action that I had was specifically with social anxiety. I would make like at first really, really easy things for myself. So it'd be like make eye contact with people today, make a smile, or just say hi. Just really, really little things. And then as I progressed, it was like start a conversation with somebody random, or give somebody a compliment, and it would just keep going up and going up from there. A couple things we want to keep in mind when we're talking about our plan of action is you want to maintain awareness while you're in action. So you want to do your best to remain thinking positively and also breathing correctly. It's really, really easy to hype yourself up on the way to go do something, and then as soon as you get in the moment, you just lose yourself in your thoughts and your nervousness again. Another thing is if you think it, do it. If you think of doing something, do it right then. Don't wait and think about it too much, because that's just going to lead to it not feeling as natural. So by just going for it, you don't really give your mind as much time to think or imagine bad things or get nervous. I personally find I have way more success when I act immediately rather than waiting. So for guys, that could be like, oh, if you want to go talk to that girl, do it right away. The more you sit there and think about, oh, what should I say? It's just going to be weird at that point. You might as well just not even do it. Think it, do it. And the third thing is we want to self-reflect on the event afterwards. So we took our action. How did it go? Could it have gone better? Those are just a couple questions you can ask yourself whenever you act on the plan. Journaling is probably the best for this because you can look back in a month and be like, wow, look where I was, look where I'm at now. But even just thinking about it helps. The real main point here is you don't want to be too harsh on yourself. Perfection is never the goal. It's not obtainable. You want to do this fairly for the sake of just noticing where you can make improvements and where you can continue to grow. Now, today we talked about taking action and we went over what exactly I mean by that, why it's very important, and I just gave you 3 important things to keep in mind when acting on your plan of action. And hopefully after this, wrapping up the 3-part series on confidence, hopefully you're feeling more confident about being confident. Hopefully you got some ideas on your plan of action. You got some levels that you're going to start working on. I really, really hope you do that. I wish you the best of luck on working on that plan of action. I know it can be a little stressful, but just hang in there. Don't give up, and your life really can change. I want to thank y'all all today for popping in and checking out the video. It really means a lot to me. I put a lot of time into this content. It changed my life, and I really hope I'm able to do the same for y'all. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Take care, everybody.